Hi, everyone. Welcome to the podcast. I am your host, Christy. Today, I've got someone significant, very important with me. His name is Simon Raadt, and he's from EcommOps. If I say it wrong, correct me. And he's the president of the company. He used to live in China and he moved back to Netherlands. And the great news is recently he participated a co-author program with me and many other authors as well. And this book is called The World Thought Leaders. And this book has just hit #1 in many countries. And I'm so thrilled to welcome Simon to our show. Simon, welcome.
Thank you. Yeah, so it is EcommOps, so you said it right. So good on you.
Oh, thank you. That makes me feel better. All right, so let's start the interview. At the beginning, I want to ask you some questions just to let the audience know more about you. And the first question I've got here is, if you had to describe yourself in 3 words, what would they be and why?
That's always a tough one. For me, it would be loyal. That's something that really is a high standard of me, being loyal to the companies you work for or the people that you surround yourself with, the closest. Authentic. This is always a long-term journey to find your authentic self. And I think that I'm almost there. So that is something that I'm striving for: loyal, authentic. And last one is relationships. I value every relationships that I have with you, but also with the other people from the book, and that's still forming. So I really also want my relationships to shine, and me being enabler for them to shine, or using my abilities or network to help them get there.
Thank you, Simon. Wow, I love the answer. And you can tell everybody from the way how he answered. He didn't even, by the way, we didn't set up anything. Literally, that's what he said about authentic. It is completely authentic from his mouth, what he shared about himself. So thank you, Simon. And I agree with you, even though we know each other for only probably half a year or a little bit longer than that. But I can tell what you said is completely true. And from your journey, from the stories that you share on the book. So good on you. Thank you. Now, next question for this is, if you could have dinner with any thought leader, living or historical, who would it be and why? It's a tricky question, but I know you know how to answer it.
Yeah, that's a very tricky question. For me, it's really more spiritual leaders that I'm currently tapping into. So it depends on your journey in your life, who you want to have on that table. And for just people to meet, for me, someone like Bryant is a huge role model of his work ethics, but also just his ability to just create his own future, pretty much. So I love basketball. So also like LeBron James, those kind of guys have made something for themselves and still stay true to themselves with all the noise there. But also more spiritual leaders like a Gandhi, or someone that is actually not really focused on gaining material stuff, but just finding inner peace and allowing other people to shine by finding that as well. So who's sitting on the table depends a little bit throughout the journey, but these were definitely individuals that have been impactful, but also guys like Tony Robbins. They've been huge NLP on how you use phrases as well. So it's always very interesting also when you do meditation, and I think you do as well, is that you sometimes can connect to the people that you've never met before and that you consider as a role model, and then think, what would they say? And then actually the answers are coming to you, and it will help you solve a lot of the questions that you might have and struggling with. But just tapping into understanding their journey, understanding where they are and who they are, will help you to be able to get the right answers that you're looking for, and tapping into their knowledge, so to say.
Thank you, Simon. And you're right. It depends on what kind of season and what kind of answers you're looking for. And I love that you are willing to share all these people who have made impact in your life. And here's the thing, a great leader is also a great follower. When we are willing to learn, that's also how we become a great leader. I'm sure everybody who hasn't read the book, you will be very eager to find out what Simon has shared his story. I'm not going to share more here, but we're going to deep dive a little bit later so that he will share not everything, but something so that you know what this is about. So thank you, Simon. The next question I have here for you is, What inspired you to contribute to the work thought leaders, and how does your chapter reflect your personal or professional journey?
Yeah, so I wasn't planning on writing the book, but just the timing of it made really sense. So within the company EcommOps, we were developing a thought leadership strategy of how to position ourselves in the niche of China fulfillment. It's a very specific niche, but it's also a very hot topic right now, where Chinese companies are more and more shipping directly from China, Temu, Shein. So for me, it's like, okay, I want to create a buzz around what we do, and I need to get a wider stage. And for me, your network, but also the book is helping me to do that. So that was one. The other one was, as you probably also get, people start to approach you for advice. They ask you, how did you do this? How can I learn from you? What is it? What tips would you give me? And I was like, I can just write it down, actually, and I should write it down. And this actually triggered me to decide to write it down and make the time. And then I could just say, okay, read this before we jump on a call, because this will give you a much better perspective on your ability to be able to learn from me and ask better questions. Because in the end, it's much more about asking better questions for us to be able to have built a long-term relationship. Because too often people come to you with just a quick game and not for a long-term relationship. And it's a proud moment as well by writing down your own journey. And I'm going to also translate it to Dutch, my chapter at least, so that my kids can read it and my parents can read it, because a lot of the journey is unknown, because no one has been there with you throughout the whole journey from childhood till now. And that's something that even my brother asked him to read it, and he said, huh, I didn't know that about you. And I think that's very meaningful to me. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I think what Simon has been doing, that's truly amazing, because number one, you have to read the book before you talk to Simon, which is a great point. I love that. And you're right. People need to make efforts. It's always about partnership. If someone wants to learn something, it's never about feeding that person. It's about like a conversation. And it's good that you mentioned that if they know you more and know your story more, it becomes easier when you can then move to the next step. And thank you so much for sharing that, your family and your brother. That is the beauty about writing, isn't it? I think when I wrote my first chapter as well, I also felt like people like, oh, really? That's about you? Like, there's so many things that they didn't know about you, but you also started to know more about yourself, which is really awesome. All right. Thank you, Simon. So the next question is, can you share a key insight or aha moment from your chapter that readers will find really valuable? Like a little bit, not too much.
Yeah. Well, one is more about aha moment for myself while reading it, and the other one is probably more for the reader itself that I would like them to take out of it. So to start with myself is to really learn how impactful your childhood has been to who you are today. Which for me, there's a personal story in there of my 11-year-old, being 11-year-old Simon, basically, of delivering newspapers to be able to make ends meet and being able to buy the things that you want to buy, because there's not enough financial ability within the family in itself. And so that is that feeling of that you have to chase something has been there with me for the whole life. And I never pinpointed it back to my 11-year-old self, which I think is very impactful of realizing is what is that trigger that makes you feel this way, feel that rush or anxiety or anything related to that. So that was very useful for me. So it's almost like a therapy session writing the book. And second, what I want other people to take away is something I always thought that would happen automatically by just, if I do my work well, I would be appreciated and other people will open up the stage for me. It doesn't work that way. It took me years and years to realize that I have to be visible. I have to become valuable to be able to grow a platform and utilize the companies or the business that I work on and to operate as a platform to be able to go further in life than I ever imagined it to be. And I never realized how impactful it is to be visible, stepping on stages, being on a podcast, being visible on social media, not bragging about yourself, but trying to contribute into valuable discussions. And that's something that if you already do that, opportunities are coming towards you. And that's so far more easier than grinding, and hoping that something would come and somebody will see you. That one person will see the potential in you. You have to see the potential in you, and then you do that by becoming visible with your full potential. And that's something I wish I would have learned far earlier. And I hope the reader will also take this as a key lesson that they can implement in whatever way. There's so many ways to be visible. There's no one way, but you have to find your way of doing that.
Wow, that's so amazing, Simon. I already read your story, but I'm sure whoever's listening to you right now can't wait to deep dive into the lesson that you mentioned. And you're right. As me, I'm doing the podcast stuff and being in public for a long time. People always for those who don't understand about you, they think you're trying to brag in whatever. But when your purpose is coming to really serve people, you don't really care how people think about you anymore, but you do care if you are making some great impact, because maybe you are on the podcast, maybe there's only let's say 100 people are watching from 10,000, but it doesn't matter. Even if you touch one person that day, you can even save someone's life. Like you said, like if someone read your chapter as well, you are reminding them that you need to be visible, and that can help someone's whole life, because they don't have to make the same mistake that you've made. They can already skip that silly step and go to the right step as well. So I want to say thank you, Simon, for being willing to really share something that is, it's not something like you say, oh yeah, I'm awesome, like you're not sharing things like that. Instead you have to really show the other side of you and telling people, hey, I was there before and I felt, I can feel how you feel right now. So if I could do that, you can too. So thank you, Simon. I really appreciate it. All right. So the next question I have for you, Simon, is what makes your perspective or approach unique compared to other thought leaders in your field? I know there are many thought leaders in the world, right? Again, this is not a bragging session, but I'm sure you are confident in what you do and the areas that you are, because we are so different, right? So feel free to share.
I believe I have a very unique profile, and that's built up basically during my time in China, where I initially started working with postal businesses, of helping them to give a presence and sell their services in China. So that was the Kickstarter of small parcel shipping out of China. So all the big companies, AliExpress, Unexpress, Light in the Box, those companies were using our small parcel shipping solution. Now, obviously, as the market is changing, I started to invest into a custom clearance company as well to help them gain presence, because for Europe particularly, last mile delivery, custom clearance is something that's a fact. And how do you streamline that? And then during these years in China, aside of the small parcels, I was sourcing from factories. I was buying consumer products for retail. So I went to the factories, did the quality control, being able to identify, okay, how products are made and how does this then tap into shipping small parcels. A factory has a certain need, a logistic company has a certain need, and the consumer has a certain need. So I was able during the 10 years in China to be able to identify the needs of a factory, to identify the needs for the logistic company. What was missing is understanding the consumer perspective. So for the last 5 years, I've been dealing with web shop owners that are running their online business. And in the last 5 years, I've been able to understand their mindset. I've understood their bottlenecks. I've been able to understand what will help them to scale by optimizing the supply chain. So all of these things kind of like come into place as like a puzzle, as it was meant to be, but it was never planned to be. And this just kind of like evolved throughout the years, where the industry started to change. And then how do you scale? How do you navigate your skill set, your network, and your abilities in the best way? And for me, this right now is working with an international clients, with international team, helping online brands to leverage the supply chain from China. And it all kind of came together where skills, passion, and fall into place. So I think that's very unique. Most people have enormous expertise on one of these three, either sourcing or logistics or building an online brand. There are not many that have an understanding of all three. And that would make me also a little bit unique compared to some of the other industry players. Yeah.
Thank you, Simon. To conclude, I agree with you that again, probably after this podcast, there are so many companies trying to get you away from the current company because you're really capable in so many things that the experiences not everybody has, which is really precious. And because of that, like you mentioned, you understood about the pain, the bottleneck, and things that makes you a thought leader, because sometimes people, they are looking for leaders to look up to, but if they look for someone who are outside the industry, sometimes they don't really understand. But when they look at you, like either in one of the three industries, that you do understand all of them, which makes you really in a great position as a thought leader itself. So yeah, I love the story that you've got. And again, you're probably the only one I've known so far who are in this journey. So I agree with you. It is unique. Thank you. So the next question I have for you is, how has your personal or professional journey shaped the ideas you shared in the book?
I think that's the key red line through my story, is my professional and personal experience in itself. So it shaped everything. The book is completely, or my chapter at least, completely about my personal and professional journey, my ups, my downs, my learnings. And yeah, and I try to tell them also with stories, to be able to put it into perspective, of what the lessons are, and how my personal development has shaped me to where I am today professionally. And for me, yeah, you have to innovate yourself to continuously, whether it's learning a language, Mandarin in my case, or whether it's managing a team, or whether it's dealing with investors, or whether it's scaling globally. There are so many dynamics that require you to continuously improve yourself. And if you don't have that willingness to do so, and you always want to stay in a comfortable situation, then you can never fully reach your full potential, because you don't know what's out there and what you're capable of. So my personal journey is always trying to challenge myself to be able to look for the next obstacles, what's limiting my growth in itself. And the more I grow, I'm confident that the more people around me are going to grow with me. And I'm also going to get in front of people that have that same mindset. And that has helped me a lot. So for me, the chapter is not the finishing point. It's definitely, there's still far more to come, that I have in mind that will help, based on my personal growth. Yeah.
Oh, thank you, Simon. So it's just the beginning. It's not our end, it's the beginning. Yeah. So the next question I have for you is, why do you think the word thought leaders is a must read for anyone looking to grow personally or professionally? I mean, of course, you know your story. I'm not sure if you have already read the other stories yet, but feel free to share your opinion why the audience and readers should read. Yeah.
Yeah, so I did start reading, didn't finish yet, but I did start reading. What I think is amazing about this book, that there are 8 individuals sharing their personal, and in my opinion, authentic story. And you might not connect with all of them, but I'm sure there's going to be at least one of them that's going to help you to evolve your own career or your own personal journey. I see so many people that you grab their phone, they're scrolling and they're scrolling, looking for inspiration. And the inspiration that you find there is fake inspiration. It's been made for you to get likes and views. When you read this book, you actually don't get the fancy stories, you get the real stories. And these real stories come with a lot of hardship, with a lot of pain, and with a lot of overcoming their own personal obstacles, whether it's childhood, physical abilities, or whatever it might be. And I think that's extremely powerful, where you feel like you're not by yourself chasing something. Your surroundings might not be supportive to you, but know that each one of these authors in this book is supportive to you. And I think if you're looking for people for mentorship, grab a book, grab this book particular, find the person or the story that connects with you, reach out to the author, and see if how they can help you to reach your full potential. I think that will make everyone very proud to be able to participate and contribute in this way. So definitely highly recommend picking it up. There is at least one story that is going to help you be a better version of yourself.
Thank you, Simon. That was an awesome explanation. I never thought about scrolling phone stuff. It's so true that nowadays we're all spending too much time on there, and it's actually not really helpful most of the time. And you're right. The whole thing behind this book is really to share the authentic story to help people, and that's why the purpose is different, and it's much worth to have that. And another thing is with AI, ChatGPT, all these things are available. People can create any books in no time, but it's definitely never be able to compare or compete with our one, because it is completely from 8 individuals and a true story. So I'm proud of that.
It's
Like,
self-written without AI. No AI, no, in my case, no AI used. It's been
it's true. Like, I don't think any of the guys has been using AI in this, but I'm just saying that it's you probably cannot find books like this as time goes by in the future. So it's really worth it. Thank you. All right. So the next thing, I think it's very similar to this question, is how do you think this book stands out from other thought leadership books in the market? But I'm sure you can share a little bit point of view on this question as well.
Yeah, if you would pick up the book, you might consider, okay, world thought leaders. So we're going to discuss the world politics and world economics and everything that comes with it, that's not what the book is about. It's also not about the theoretical approach. What a thought leader is determined by. There are other books that I also read that are very valuable already. They're more scientific. This is really about the journey of becoming one. And none of the authors are self-claimed thought leaders. Just make that very clear. I think all of us are still figuring out how we can be more thoughtful of being a leader in itself globally. So it is a story of you becoming one, if you have that ambition, or at least becoming more than what you currently are. So it's really about the journey more than the definition or the politics side of a thought leadership.
Amazing. Again, a great answer, Simon. Thank you. And I agree with you. I agree with you 100%. And that's like, we're not saying we are the most thought leaders in the world, but we are representing thought leaders in different fields and different age, different background and everything. And it's always a journey. It's never a destination. So very good, Simon. Thank you. Now, the next question. I have a lot of questions for you. If you're tired, you probably need to grab something to drink.
I'm good.
All right. So the next question is, if your chapter had a theme song, what would it be and why?
There come the karaoke nights come in then. For me, it's probably Let It Go from Frozen. Because we are always our personal state of mind is very much influenced by the outside world, always. So has been mine. So I've been determined by what other people felt, or what's expected, or what their opinion is. And the key actually is letting go, letting go of their opinions, and really like throw that shirt off, and then see your true self. And I picture you in your shiny dress on the stage as well, where you can just be you. And what does that then looks like? What is that voice that you are truly are, and what you stand for, and not what is accepted? And I think that's Let It Go represents for me that, but also my journey of shaping yourself to becoming an authentic self, and also really stand with it, and not being worried that other people have an opinion about it, because they're gonna have an opinion, positive or negative, but neither the positive nor the negative should influence you. It is about being very true to yourself. And that song is also a great song for karaoke. So if you haven't used that, it's awesome. It's going to light up the whole room, because everyone knows the chorus, and everyone knows that they can just shout as loud as they can and just let it go and just enjoy the night
Been
there.
for too long, Simon. Everybody has that thing, pain and past and unforgiveness, everything for too long. So Let It Go is definitely the best song. I don't think there's any better answer than what you just said. Thank you, Simon. The next question I have very aligned with this as well. What's one piece of advice you'd give your younger self that aligns with the message of your chapter? I know you already shared a few things, let it go, and and then be visible and things, but really just one piece of advice, if you want to share, that would be really awesome. Thank you.
Yeah. So all the tips combined are in the book itself, or in the chapter at least. For me, it was, don't have an expectation that someone is going to help you. And that's quite, for me, it slowed me down a lot. I was trying to build a career in China and find a job there. It took me 3 years to find it, realizing that I have to go there myself to find the job and land it there. No one's going to help me find it. They're going to make an introduction, but I have to actually take the initiative and make the steps to make it happen. And sometimes we just hope and pray that someone is going to help you to be able to reach whatever you have in your mind. But it's on you to take the initiative, and it's on you to make the first steps. And then people are very willing to help you. Once you clearly explain what it is you want to have as an outcome, there's so many people out there that are going to help you with no expectation for something in return. But if you're not able to express what it is you're going to do, and you're not taking the steps to get there, it's going to be a very challenging and frustrating journey. And yeah, I've had that journey, and I think the shortcut is just taking actions.
Simon, it's such an honor. I still have more questions. I just want to reflect what you've been sharing. And at the beginning, you shared about 3 words about you, and the more I chat with you, the more it's reflecting all these words. And I think if I was someone right now watching, because I also have experience like what you shared about the pain and things, I wish I've had known you earlier as well when I heard this message, right? Because sometimes if we don't really feel the pain, we don't know how hard they will become. And it's really through these mistakes and failure that we start to grow to be stronger and to understand about things. Your story about going get the job in China is really magical. I'm not gonna ruin the movie telling everybody about the whole story, but you guys need to read it. It's really amazing, and it doesn't happen very often. Trust me, it doesn't happen to everybody, but it was really a fantastic story. Yeah, thank you, Simon. So the next question I have here is, what has been the most rewarding part of being a co-author of this book?
I think it's getting exposed to other leaders because it's a co-authorship. So people that some I've met, but most I haven't. So I'm going to be very excited to meet them in person in Bangkok, because you know about their journey, and then you're going to meet them, because by the time we're meeting, I've read the book. So that's a very exciting for me. Another way is just reaching an audience that you never would have reached by yourself. You never know who's going to pick up the book. Some people tell you, some don't. And also people that are not in my network, friends of the other co-authors, or just whoever wants to pick it up, is going to feel inspired. At least that's what the plan is, for them to feel inspired in itself. And it's never going to go away. The book is going to be there. And it's really a testimonial for where I am right now. Perhaps a few years from now, I write another book which is going to be different than this one. And because you're going to have new insights. And I hope it inspires people to also do more journaling and writing down of their journey where they are right now. Because I didn't do the journaling, and I have to go think all the way back and trying to find out what were these moments that have changed a lot in my life. That doing that is already very powerful, but if you have more details, then your storytelling will become much better, of getting other people as well on the journey. So the book is not about telling my journey. The book is about inspiring others as well to share their story, so that you get the ripple effect. And that's something I'm very excited about, that the book is going to have a ripple effect, 100% guaranteed. And what that ripple effect is going to look like, we don't know, but I know it's going to be amazing. And that really makes me so excited that the book is finally out there.
Thank you, Simon. I'm excited too. 3 more questions. I will let you go. Let go, okay? All right. How has collaborating with other thought leaders in this book inspired or influenced you? I know you just mentioned quickly about that's the beauty about it, but how does that really inspire or influence you as well?
Well, we don't know what other people were writing and how they were writing it themselves. We have some joint calls, and some showed up, but because of time zone, you never had the full group together until the book was ready, pretty much. One of the authors, Justice, I sent him my draft, he sent his, so we actually had some exchange as well. That's very cool, so that we get to know each other better, but also give some tips and tricks that might help them. But in itself, I use the previous book, the Leaders in Logistics, as a guideline of how to write this book in itself, because there are also multiple leaders in the industry that are sharing their journey, their stories. And it really resonated with me as well. So I wanted to use that as well to be able to find my own inspiration and to write the story down in itself. So it's not just about just the authors, it's about the whole group around it and the previous books that has been launched under your umbrella. Yeah.
Yeah, so like you said, there's a ripple effect, right? It's starting from the previous books that we did together and then this book, and I'm sure there will be more books coming in the future that it's about that connection and inspire from one and another, and it's gonna create that amazing effect for the future leaders and and more maybe our children as well. So yeah, you're right. I think that's something whenever we think about it, we feel our efforts is worth it. And it's something that the whole reason why we come together to put this book together is we all have the same goal. We want to inspire and empower the younger generations as well. So Simon, the last two questions. What would you say to someone considering contributing to a future edition of this book or maybe similar edition like was it the other one, the Logistic Legends, stuff like that? What's your words to them?
If you're doubting it, then I would say do it. If you already know that it's not for you, then definitely not. But if there's some form of doubt where you're curious about what it would be like for you to write down your story, for you to be able to think back of what has been changing moments in your life, for you to be able to share your journey to the people dear and close to you and that they never seen or heard about themselves, you don't have to publish it per se in a book. I would definitely do it either way. But how powerful is it if it can just reach people outside of your circle? So if there's any doubt, I would definitely give it a go. There's no failure in writing this book. We're not professional authors, but we might be one day. But we need to explore whether this is something for us. And this is a great way to explore your potential in writing as well as storytelling. So I think for me, if you feel the doubt, I would say do it. If it's really not, you're not a reader, you don't really care about writing, it's going to be an uphill battle, don't do it. But the majority of the people, I'm sure they have a story to tell, and that story should be written down. And this is a great opportunity to write it down. It's not a whole book, it's a chapter. So a whole book takes probably more than a year to write. This, if you do the chapter, it's going to be 2 or 3 months and you get it done.
Wow, what an amazing interview. The last but not the least, finally, how can readers connect with you to learn more about your work?
Well, my work most is on LinkedIn. So I'm relatively active on LinkedIn. So definitely find me there. I hear more and more people getting active on other social media channels. So I'm considering most of my non-work related. Sometimes I post on Facebook or Instagram, but majority LinkedIn or on a website, my full name.com, salmonderaadt.com or EcommOps.com, which is where I'm involved in day to day. And those two can help. But feel free to reach out to me on LinkedIn. I'm responsive there every day. So use that mechanism.
Thank you so much, Simon. And everybody, he is active on LinkedIn. If you have read his chapter, if you have listened to this podcast, if you are inspired by Simon, and I'm sure many of you guys have definitely found that connection with him from the way how he speaks and how he's so authentic, loyal, all these words, relationships. He would love to connect with you guys because he cherishes people. And I'm sure that you can't wait. Just search Simon's name and read the book. There's connection there as well. You can find his contact. And we can't wait to have Simon again in another episode in the near future. Thank you so much, Simon. Thanks for being with us.
Thanks, Christy. Thanks.